Welcome, Tina. Welcome, Dale. Manda loves cakes. Good to see you, Skylar. The real Kevin is in the house. Manda loves cakes. I haven't seen her in so long. They arranged them. Aligned the phone a little bit. How are everybody? Gary, Skylar is in the house. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Simulation Talk 78. We're slowly getting up there. Wonder how fast before we get to 1,000. Well, in 900 something days. I like the fairy, thank you. Wait a few more moments to do the first intro and then we can dive right in. We had some fun interactions recently, Manda loves cakes. I know I've been streaming a little bit later because I didn't have a choice, but now I'm trying to take the reins back together and stream at a reasonable hour so I get all my regulars. I'm glad to see you here. I'm doing great. Yeah, I've been streaming every day per usual, just a bit later. By the way, all the recordings to all the newcomers are on Dango Thoughts on YouTube, DANGO Thoughts. I've also recently interviewed Andrew Gallimore. The full interview is on there. You can also just follow the link in my bio, the link tree. What did you have a lot of synchronicities still? Or are they reserved to when to show up for the chats? All right. I look like that one guy. And your name is Dan as well. Look at that. How you doing, Joseph? Schwan is here. Tonight is the night of the two moons. Sounds very special. And look at us streaming today. Okay. So, thank you for reminding us. So today, whatever it's called is starting to go around Earth or to occupy our joint space. So we welcome our friend. What's the name of the object? I forget. Does anybody here know? Nico! How are you, brother? Let's see. What is the name of the object that will be Earth's moon for a few days? So it's a very non-sexy name. It's the 2024 PT5. So we'll call him Petey. Hey Petey. Petey the moon. Welcome Petey. Welcome to orbit. I mean, not to orbit. Just, move on out right after. Thank you for the cap, Nico. I appreciate you. Okay, so to all the newcomers, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation, so taking it out of the hypothesis stage to the experimental stage. Obviously, it's a long way to go. A few years ago, I became vocal about the subject and proposed an experiment that anybody can run, in which if you project a diffracted laser on a surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name here on the live chat because of liability reasons, you will see code running in surfaces. This observation has now been verified over 1,000 times worldwide. No, not scientifically yet, in that it was not put under the scrutiny of a double-blind and other kinds of scientific tests. However, at the moment we're exchanging notes, and the notes are becoming more and more robust. We meet here every single day. How are you, Daniel? Daniel Garcia is in the house. We discuss both the experiment, the implications, the discovery itself, as well as mostly we talk about science in general, new discoveries, philosophy, religion, spirituality, God, whatever comes to mind. So with all of that being said, if you missed some of this, you can ask me and I'll recapitulate later. I love the elephant Mandelov's cakes. Wonderful. What's up, Pops? Also, I don't know what the elephant is referring to, but I like it a lot. And today, Pity the Moon is joining us. How many days is it going to be around us? Anybody knows? Or everybody just knows we're going to have another moon. How many days 2024 PT5 will be with us? Okay. I put it in my spotlight, which is not helpful. Until Monday. Wait, what? Oh, okay. For a month. I was like, till tomorrow. He's going to be with us for a whole month. That's exciting. Hopefully, he's not going to get, or it's not going to get overly excited and collide into us. 57 days. Thank you, Skylar. Appreciate you. Yeah, I know, almost. But I mean, hey, that's good enough, right? If you tend to believe in all the spiritual stuff, I'm pretty sure you're going to be noticing a lot of weird things happening in this period, but in a good way. We know it's going to be in a good way because Pity is a good dude or a good dudette. Pity is a good moon. Do they have genders? How's the laser experiment been? It's been good. How have you been? Skylar, a moon is basically anything that orbits a planet is called a moon. Technically, all of our satellites are moons, or the moon is a satellite. So, it's definitely the difference between all of these things is that's probably what you would call an asteroid, and it just kind of goes around us for a little bit. Hope all is well. Just want to pop in and give good energy and have a good one. Thank you so much, Daniel Garcia. I appreciate you. And actually, I don't know if you know this, Skylar, but a fun fact, if you do, then disregard. But if you don't, it's kind of cool to know that the moon is most likely, the Earth used to be a little bigger, and it was actually not called the Earth. Well, both because there was nobody around to call it anything, but also because we technically call it something else. I forget the name of it. But then there was another planet that was very close, like it was basically collided with us. It was a very big collision, and a chunk of what then was the first Earth, whatever that was, broke, and that's what the moon is, which is kind of crazy. Imagine that explosion. Exactly, in a good way. Do they have images? I really want to see an image of it. I keep closing that page, which is not smart. Let's see. Mini moon. Oh yeah, there's an object. There's a picture. I mean, it's an illustration. Unless somebody went to space and took a picture. Welcome everybody on YouTube and X and Twitch. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. As much as I love astrophysics, I actually know very little about the formation of the Earth itself. And there's this channel, let me see if I remember. There's this channel on YouTube. He does all kinds of, his narration is great. I think it's called The Brief History of the Universe. Let me verify. That I always used to watch. History of the Universe. I think it's that. Yes, it is called, wait, yes, no? Yes. So the channel is called, why can't I see the name of the channel? History of the Universe. And he also had a series, the same guy or the same people, they had a series, A Brief History of Earth, which I knew nothing about. I was never really that interested. But then I was like, I kind of binge watched that whole thing, and that was super interesting because I didn't know about all these like periods and in the Earth and all that stuff. I was always trying to look always further. Well, I guess I found the furthest. What is borscht? Soup. Borscht is soup. Beet soup. There you go. Thank you, Goblin. But Fast Food Guido, you don't understand. Fast Food Guido has all the jokes. So what's the punchline, Fast Food Guido? No punchline? All right. So, what can I fill you in, Mandaloves Cakes, with? There was one fun conversation. I keep mentioning it because it was a lot of fun. There was this person came up and they were a researcher that does a bunch of testing for the government, I think, or FDA, or well, it is the government, right? I'm not sure though. If they're here, they'll correct me. But in any case, their name is Michelle, and they came on and they were like, raising some concerns and trying to poke some logical holes in the argumentation and all that stuff. And it was great because they got really interested and also proposed some very interesting angles of thinking about the problem. So that was a fun conversation. No borscht is borscht, whether it's red or white. But you said that you made that joke the other day. Come on, you got to bring new jokes every day. Where are we people from? Who are you calling you people? What's up, Richwood? Where are you person from? You're my people? What is my people? What does that mean? Okay, so what do we have for us today? Ancestry? Well, that's definitely the wrong way to ask that question. Good afternoon. Science is interesting. I agree with your handle. Oh, I think you're a regular, right? You come here once in a while. Welcome back. Where are you people from? That's what Ancestry.com gives you. Where are you people from? Okay, so if anybody has any questions about... Oh, Patricia Black is back. Charlotte. Beautiful. It's a beautiful place. And so if anybody has any questions about the experimentation, we're here to answer. If not, we'll just glide into some general topic. Cal is in the house. Great podcast with Gallimore. Did you ask him about the laser experiment outside of the convo? I met Gallimore in Japan a year ago. We spoke about it then. We didn't have time to get into the whole laser thing because I think for him it's a little bit of a contentious issue considering the fact that he's never actually tried it, as far as I know. And we only had 1 hour, so we had to focus on some basic things, and then it still was a very fun conversation. You guys should check it out on YouTube. It's Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. And Andrew Gallimore is a computational neurobiologist who studies DMT. Well, I shouldn't say it, but he studies the molecule not anymore, actually. I think he's stepping away from academia. Thank you, Light, for your service. I think he's stepping away from academia and now he's going to be authoring full time. And he's also working on some kind of a new thing with, what's his face? Actually, I think Dennis McKenna is also involved. And, come on, Cal, you're my name helper. What's his name? The ancient civilization guy. So yeah, so that was a fun conversation. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Wait. Also, great to see you, man. Graham Hancock, thank you. Cal is quick with the names. I appreciate you, man. I need you with me all the time. So good to see you. Yep, Graham Hancock, exactly. I saw posted yesterday. Posted. Oh, the stuff about what they're doing. Okay, got it. Yeah. Let's see. Are you an alpha? Wait, are you that guy? What's that guy's name? Matan? The little kid that asking everybody if they're alpha? Are you an alpha? Are you an alpha? You're a beta. Yeah, I'm an alpha. Ruff! Florida. Nice. There's a lot of alphas, and all Florida men are alpha. Does time seem linear in this other realm you are seeing? To me, yes. A lot of people report that no. What do I think? What is? Does your shirt have a Mason sign? Yeah, I'm definitely part of the Illuminati's, 100%. Hey, wanted to know what you experienced that led you to Christianity, if you don't mind me asking. Uh, oh, you're referring to my observation of Jesus. Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's the same as referral to Christianity. I saw Jesus Christ, and what I took from it is that there's some kind of a function to what we believe Jesus to be, which was the representation of that. But it does not mean that Christianity, the way it's practiced today, is the correct representation of what that actually is. At least to me, that's not what it means. Can lasers tap into other dimensions? Apparently they can. The happy Jutalian is in the house. How you doing, brother? Alpha and science don't mix? Come on, man. Let us in. Or we're gonna break the door. You know how it works. Hey, we want to do science. You know what I mean? Capiche? I had a dream. I saw the code, but it had a slow frame rate and was Arabic numbers. Wrong code. No, this one definitely doesn't look like Arabic. It looks like Japanese. Somebody said Trump is corrupt and a liar. Good. You solved all world problems. I'm glad you're here. Can you explain how gravity behaves like a particle? You're referring to you? Okay, you're talking about the proposed graviton, or you're talking about the new theory that postulates that gravity might actually have an associated super weakly interacting particle that has mass itself, but that's a slightly different theory. That one actually proposes to eliminate the need for dark matter. Which one are you referring to? Is it the lady that was talking recently on the TOE podcast? TOE, Theories of Everything? Yeah, Andrew Gallant. Exactly. How can lasers tap into other dimensions? I have no idea, man. But it does apparently. Do you think Jesus was a historical figure? At this point, I'm convinced. I did not believe it once for 1 second before. Does gravity equal time? Well, depends how you look at it. Technically, gravity is what puts you. Let's see if you can postulate it this way. Anything that has mass starts moving in time and at the same time exerts gravity. So I think there's a very deep connection there. But this stuff, the whole relativistic stuff, is very complicated. Not in terms of, well, also in terms of equations, actually, the field equations are very complex. But that's why we don't use them to send rockets to space, even though they're more accurate, is because they're extremely convoluted. So we use Newtonian physics for that, just a fun fact. But as far as thinking about it intuitively is very difficult because these things are fascinating. It's one of the reason that Einstein's considered such a genius is because basically the idea encapsulates a very, very, very deep explanatory power in terms of intuition and geometry. So it's like one thing that makes sense of the whole thing. So all of any thread you're going to pull in relativity, it's going to affect, but in terms of it, right angle, gravity, but also mass causes gravity. So is mass acceleration? What does that actually mean? Why does everything that has mass moves in time? Does that mean that mass is also time? Does that mean that is just one of these zingers that somebody told me once, and I thought it was very funny. I don't know. I think I would go to different times. Sometimes it's fun to go and visit sometime in your. You mean in my lifetime or before? Like in general? Time can be experienced differently by different individuals. Yes. Yeah. I mean, both psychological time, obviously, but even physical time. It's just that the way the time will flow for you will appear the same unless you get bored, and then it slows down time. But for others, relative to you, it will look like the time is moving different, actually. Our mass creates a ripple effect in our world. Gravity acts on our mass. Well, gravity acts on our mass depending on what frame you're looking through. It can make sense, but through relativity, for example, it doesn't make any sense because gravity doesn't act. Gravity is the fact in relativity that mass bends space-time, and the curvature of space-time is what gravity is according to relativity. So there's no acting on. It's just the fact of the nature of the geometry of space. In quantum field theory, it's a little different because everything is considered to be quantized, and gravity postulated to have a particle associated with it, a force carrier called graviton that we've never discovered. And if you ask me, we probably never will, because I don't think it's quite what's going on. Which is a very easy thing to say without doing any other work. I'm aware of that. Our mass creator. Why do you think evangelical Christians always make things about their personal feelings and experience? Same reason everybody do. Every single person makes it about their experience and feelings without even realizing it. Red laser light theory explained in 30 seconds. Red lasers are very cool. Aliens are very cool. That's why they use red lasers. Before any time period. Any time period before me. Ooh, you know what? Honestly, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm not that interested in history, to be quite honest. I love the future. I want to go to the future. I always thought about the future as the cool thing. Like I never understood people who love the antiquity and they get drawn to like the the old times and it's cool for them, and like it was never cool for me. I see an old building and I get depressed. Even though the older I get, the more I have appreciation for cities and like how much history that city saw, that whole thing. Like there's something cool about walking in Madrid or like any old city and like watching like these like very old structures, because that it has a certain energy and character and it feels good. But when I was a kid, it would just depress me, so I never wanted to go back in time. I know I'm a bummer when it comes to this, but I'm like, take me to the future, man. Do you think an understanding of time would let us know where gravity comes from? You mean of physical time? Probably. I mean, we have some understanding. We will build a larger atom smasher in our generation. I think just like are we due for a revolution in physics? So to the second question, absolutely, and hopefully I'm going to have any role to play in that. Greg Norris is saying, hey Danny, how's it going? How are you, Greg? Good to see you. For your first question, I think that the whole hadron collider, fire hydrant collider, maybe we'll build a fire hydrant collider. Now, I mean, that's something that a lot more people would want to see. But no matter how big the fire hydrant collider is, I think that it's going to follow the same trajectory that kind of like a lot of technologies that we think that is going to be just like a bigger, smaller version of whatever it is. I think it's going to, and then eventually becomes a completely different thing. Like, with CDs, we kept on thinking they're going to become smaller and smaller, and then eventually we just moved to now storing things in the cloud, and nobody saw that coming. And I think it's going to be something like that. Like, it's going to be a completely different modality of how we discover things. That's my intuition. Maybe lasers in the spirit molecule, who knows? Thoughts of simulation theory. I mean, that's what the channel is about. So everything I'm saying from now That is it. 500 collect. Thank you for that, Cal. I like it. Thoughts on the movie The Matrix? One of the best films ever made. Is there any mathematical possibility that we are the only life in existence in the universe? Well, it's not a mathematical possibility if you want to be fair to the question. It's a statistical probability considering the facts about the universe, not of mathematics. The answer to that, I would say, is no, extremely improbable if you understand the scale of the universe, even a little bit. But also, I know for a fact we're not alone. Now, not everybody can claim that, because if you've never had these encounters, then there's no reason for you to know that. But no, even without any observation, I think that's truly believing in the most absurd proposition possible, or there's some serious explaining to be doing. Even the whole idea of I think people trying to explain it away with things like what are they called? The universal filters or massive filters, kind of like events and histories of civilizations that might always prevent them from surviving. But I think all of these are just very poor attempts at reasoning when you're reasoning out of an n of one, when you just have one example of something and you're trying to come up with all kinds of things to rationalize it. It's a very common thing in science. Instead of saying, look, there's no way we can know, but it's very improbable, which is what the answer should definitely be, even if you've never encountered that. Is there any okay, we read that. Gravity, time, consciousness, thoughts. Yes, absolutely do this. I actually think we're inside of space-time mind. Not space-time, but space-time mind. I think mind has actual coordinates, just like space-time does. Good evening, Enigma Empress. We are experiencing a hologram. Very possible. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the beginning. What encounters did you have? Well, actually, anybody who goes into the spirit molecule space very often has these encounters, and they do not feel... if you watch my interview on my YouTube channel, yes, it's a plug, but it's very relevant. The latest interview I had was with Dr. Andrew Gallimore, who's studying the spirit molecule. The YouTube channel is Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. And you will see him explain why, through what we understand about the brain today, explaining these encounters, which are extremely coherent sometimes, will be very difficult unless these things are real. The brain doesn't create content like that. And I've had these encounters, basically. But there's nothing special about me. Anybody can have that if they're willing to partake in the molecule, which is a big if, because it's a lot to take on board. It is quite a crazy experience. So a big caveat there if you've never done it before. What major steps have you taken to expand your awareness enough to be able to see these things? You just have to go into the space often enough. It will undoubtedly happen. If you look at video game realism throughout the last 20 years, we can extrapolate to infer simulation. Yes. Besides the molecule, I'm meditating, but I don't think these are reliable ways to get to these places. People claim that. I don't think they actually get to the places that we're talking about. And this is a conversation I've had now with a few breathwork teachers. And when you press them on that point, and you ask them, wait, does it really, like, only the ones that obviously also tried the molecule, otherwise they can't compare. Because people will make the claim, right? Even Wim Hof himself, he makes the claim. It's like, well, you can release natural spirit molecule. But if you really ask them, it's like, wait. Do you get like the full on, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? You get the full on, like, you get projected and everything. They're like, well, no, like, so of course not. Yeah. Which leads me to believe that you can't really have that experience without the molecule. Not that experience. And I think it's a good thing. I think it would freak people out way too much if it just happens naturally. When you were contacted, can you explain what it felt like in your mind? Great question. In the beginning, it's you're kind of blown away by it, obviously, but it does, the memory of having it, just like a dream, dissipates very quickly. By the way, this is where the comparison with the dream ends. It does not feel like a dream. It feels like the opposite of a dream because it feels more real than this, and a dream feels less real than this. So it's the opposite of a dream. It's like one level up. But just like with a dream, the memory of having that experience, even though you remember you met a being, the actual what it was like of it, what it was likeness of that experience kind of dissipates very quickly. Eventually, you build enough of a robust ability to kind of maintain some of that information. And I mean, after I discovered the laser, the interaction became so coherent. It's just like literally a phone call. Like you just like, you see them, you talk to them. I know it sounds kind of crazy. That's why I don't tend to talk about it too much, because I rarely take people's experience on board. Not because I necessarily discount it. It's just that I don't know what to do with that, and I don't expect anybody to know what to do with mine. But if you're asking me, then yeah, it just kind of feels like at this point it's just kind of like going to the next door neighbor and talking to them. Only they're made out of light and out of 8 dimensions, and their emotions are made of a completely different material. Do you ever ask entities how to use the console? What do they say? Yeah, I asked very very often. I guess it's a test. Like I'm supposed to figure something out. I'm not clear what yet, but yeah, it drives me crazy at this point. I've started building. Well, not I, but a person who was here with us on the live. Again, I don't know if they want to be named or not, so I'm not going to name them unless they choose to. If they're here, they're welcome to come on. They're an expert in building virtual environments, and they started helping me reconstruct the more kind of like a more elaborate part of what the console really looks like. So we started working on that today. That's very exciting. How you done it? Have you done it lately? But the last time was like 2 months ago. Sound and fungus can show us that too. Like a frequency though, a zap. What is like a frequency? Science is interesting. What do you think you'd be in the past? Warrior, blacksmith, merchant, farmer, noble, or a serf? I have no idea. Everybody wants to be something cool, right? So I guess I would also want to be something cool, but how do I know? Well, probably like a traveling knight sounds pretty awesome to me. Even though I'm pretty sure they smelled. But then again, everybody smelled back then, so it's fine. You smell just like everybody else, only you also have the glory of battle and walking with a horse in infinite fields. So, I want to try the laser experiment, but I want to wear safety goggles. You can use ones that have a range, so they actually even help you see it somewhat because they cancel a lot of the extra glare. But if you use the ones that are just for the 650 nanometers, you're just not going to see anything because it's just going to block that one wavelength. Any side effects of using the molecule as often as you have, aside from becoming too interesting? No. It's one of these things where you don't really develop any kind of it's not like the other things that last for a long time and therefore they can actually do some psychological damage or anything like that. There's no physical ramification whatsoever, and there's no way of getting like used to it, so it's always kind of like the same thing. Not that I know of, and also nothing that arose from clinical trials. So I would say the answer is pretty conclusively no. What molecule? I can't name it because of the legal purposes of the live chat. But if you Google the spirit molecule, it will tell you what that is. We all have it in our bodies, naturally. And this is also another thing that I spoke to Gallimore about on the chat. So if you just joined, you can follow my link tree in the description. The latest interview in my podcast on my YouTube channel, Dango Thoughts, is with Andrew Gallimore. Matt, killing it! How you doing, man? So good to see you. The spirit molecule. If you Google that, it will tell you exactly what that is. There's only one thing that is called that in pop culture. Why the geometrical shapes? Why the geometrical shapes? What do you mean? Don't mention that. Nice. But it's too elaborate, I think, for somebody who doesn't know what it is, Mandela escapes. But nice. What do I think it's leading me to? Not well. It's a molecule, not a base material. It's not a periodic table. You have not molecules, but they're fundamental elements. It's not an element. It's made out of a few things. But it's pretty simple, so close enough. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot the word elements. Why are they, wait, what do I think it's leading me to? I'm not sure. I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we kind of discovering what the real environment we're living in, and apparently it's not a secret. We just have to figure it out a little further. So I think that's what it's leading us to. Why are they visible under these conditions? I'm not sure yet, but I think my postulation is that because the spirit molecule allows you to see more frames per second of reality itself, literally. I can't call it a 3-letter acronym. That is exactly the 3-letter that will flag the chat. I think if you say the full thing, it's fine. If you say the 3 letters is what pretty sure I mean, I wouldn't risk it either way, but I think the 3 letters is exactly what the algorithm is gonna flag. And this is something that I should start probably offering as a correction to one of my videos. In one of my videos, what is the name of the molecule? Is the molecule a drug? That was the name of the video. It's both here on TikTok and also on YouTube. And in it, I said that it is a neurotransmitter. And I was wrong. It is not a neurotransmitter. I asked Gallimore. He said it's a neuromodulator. A neurotransmitter has a very particular definition and has to meet all the criteria to be one. And the molecule does not, or at least at the moment, we don't know that it meets all the criteria, so it would be inaccurate to call it a neurotransmitter. He says, however, it is a neuromodulator for sure, and we know our body makes it, mostly in the lungs. Interesting thing, he said, it's almost certainly not produced by the pineal gland. So, a big boo for a lot of people. What's up, Oscar? It's okay. People can Google the spirit molecule. It will tell them what it is. There's no need. But it won't flag just saying 3 letters acronym. No, it will. It absolutely will. It knows what that is. Please donate to Red Cross. Help the flood victims, everyone. All right. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I think it's easy enough to figure out. Can you explain what people see with the laser? They see, surprisingly, a very similar code to what you see in the movie The Matrix. It's actually kind of weird that it looks almost exactly the same. It's almost like their subconscious knew and picked up on it. Looks very similar to Japanese. It is not Japanese, but it looks kind of like a hybrid between Japanese, Hebrew, and regular numbers. Terence McKenna is the man. Reading Dennis McKenna's book about his life with his brother Terence right now. Great book. Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. Saying 3-letter acronym. Oh. Haha. But there's a few 3-letter acronyms that can take you to a lot of places. So that's why it's confusing. Picture Silva golf ball. You know how it has indentations? I saw this huge thing in the sky like this. Interesting. You saw it like just like naturally, just kind of like a UFO thing, or you saw it under the influence? Naturally. Interesting. Was this during the day, during the night? Did it have lights? Tell us more. Also, what do you mean over the Gulf? Like, Jesse off top. Just daytime and right over the beach, about 200 feet up. That's dope. The only time I can say that I for sure saw a UFO when I was I think I was a teenager, and I saw it with my mom. We were on the balcony, and it was as clear as day. It was during the evening time, so it was already kind of like getting dark, but we saw it clearly. It was very close. Had no lights, just like you're describing. It was like a rotating upside down cupcake. Yeah, no. A golf plane? It was a golf ball plane? Need my coffee. Went to the aquarium this weekend, but I didn't stay long. There's something fishy about that place. Nice. I love the jokes today. We drove by and saw, turned around to go back, and it shot up fast and was gone. Why are they always so shy? I've seen a few in my lifetime. Interesting. That is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, so I'm so like I started saying, what's up karaoke? We started building a more advanced version of to all the newcomers you don't know. Since I built the laser, I started seeing this like I guess what you would call a multi-dimensional console, like some kind of a thing that appears for me every time I smoke the molecule now. And I released a video talking about it. And one of the listeners to the live reached out, and he's an expert in building VR environments. And he's like, "Hey, let's build a more advanced version of this." So we started doing that today. And one thing when we started doing today was very interesting. I never thought about that. In the video I put out, I obviously just kind of used the guy from Fiverr, so it was a very simple version of that, and it was difficult anyways to communicate just via text, you know. So we basically, I think he did a great job, by the way. But the person who started helping me now, he put it in a regular, like he built a regular environment, like a room that looks like a room, and then we put it in the room, and I'm like, oh, okay, that really delivers the point home, because when you put it in a grid in like a imaginary space, then yeah, I'm like illustrating that it's real, but because it's in this imaginary space, it kind of feels like I'm kind of still talking about something ethereal, you know, kind of like out there that you have to see through your third eye or something. But the second you put it in a regular environment, like in a room, it's like boom, it's like just like what it is in life, which is just appearing, and you're like, holy crap, what is that? Really want to see it and experience it myself. Looking forward to test it out with the friends. Let me know. Again, any email, report, video that you guys are willing to share is always helpful. You can always email me these things to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Once again, it's lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I have seen lots of interesting things in the sky. I don't know what they were. That's why they're interesting. My wife said it's witchcraft. What is witchcraft? What am I actually seeing where? The console or with the code? What are you asking about? It's a way of clear energy. Witchcraft! It was fine until I looked too deep into geometrical shapes. with the code that people starting in the laser. You straight up see like code running in the surface, like straight up. Like there's it has different spatial coordinates. It rotates around these buckyballs and around these giant columns, and also switches in one spot, but it's super coherent. You can see it as clear as day. Mandalev's cakes, I feel like I'm missing a lot of fun jokes. I'm not fully understanding them. Flying right over my head, all these references. I guess I don't know enough about the Protestants. I can't even pronounce the word. I almost pronounced the other word that sounds like it. With my accent and my dyslexia, that word is very problematic. Thank you, Arikos. I appreciate you, man. How are you, by the way, my man? If you're a prostitute, Protestant, yes. A Protestant prostitute is something that I can't even say. That's not even a... I should probably not say, but... Yeah, man, I feel ya. Have you used the console, or how would you interact with it if you had to guess? Yeah, I talked about it quite at length at some points. It takes a lot of energy from me to talk about it because there's certain animation that I have to attach to it. Otherwise, it feels like I'm betraying the true element of it. But yeah, the short answer is I did manage to make some things work. And I think the overarching understanding that I have of it is that, at least in the beginning, it's designed to train some facets of my attention that I didn't know I have. Can you see it with the laser, or does it need to be spatial? Special? Wait. Talking about the code, or are you talking about the console? What's up, Jenna? The console just appears without the laser, for me. But as far as I know, there's only 2 people that I met that actually see the console for sure. Some people told me they also see it, but I can't know for sure. But some people described it to me exactly what I see. But I know it's not a very common thing. Like, can you see... oh, the laser has to be diffracted. That's the only prerequisite. And never use anything about 5 milliwatts, because then it can actually damage your cornea. If you go to codeofreality.com, I have the full... There's a protocol there and all the stuff that you get for the laser from Amazon. Codeofreality.com. You'll have everything you need there. You loved me in John Wick 2? I was also in John Wick 1. And I'm also in 3. I would explain the console, but today I don't have enough energy for that. Apologies. But you can watch my video about it. I have a video here on TikTok and on YouTube as well. The YouTube one is more recommended just because it's longer and there's a little bit more explanation about it. Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts on YouTube, or just follow the link tree. And I will put out a new video soon with the new graphics as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know which one, what you're responding to, Mandalev's cakes, but I'm with you with the laughter. And it's not a special laser, no. Yeah, check out the video. And again, it's not that I'm, truly it requires a lot of energy for me to like fully sink into the what the console is. It's easier if you just watch the video. You're gonna enjoy it a lot more with the amount of energy I have right now, I promise. Then we can talk about it after. And I really do recommend you watch the one on YouTube. It is longer, but like not in a boring way. There's a few things that I think I'm saying that are important to know. TikTok is just, people's attention span, so it's shorter for sure. Yeah, Ricos, by the way, yeah, I feel you, man. It's, yeah. We all have the attention span of flies. Actually, flies pay very close attention. Do you ever try to kill one like this? Impossible. You gotta surprise him with like a finger or something. What else do I see? You mean in the space? I think the best way I can give it a blanket statement is that my experience changed in a way that now it's much more continuous with the space. So just kind of like more content here versus going to hyperspace. I do still go to hyperspace sometimes, but even when I do, I see the machines that kind of come in the room and then vibrate me in the right frequency, so I go there. So I see a lot more kind of like behind the scenes, so to speak. It's up H3. Never know how to pronounce your handle. Move your hand above where to fly away. By the way, a sound advice, you should stop killing insects. We are mostly talking about the simulation hypothesis, usually, daily, but we also touch on science in general, religion, spirituality, philosophy, whatever comes to mind. How did I figure it out the first time? We're shooting a documentary right now. It's going to be talking about the details of exactly how I came to figure it out, which was a process that took years, so it's a lengthy process. But the short version of that is that I really became interested in answering the question whether or not that space that we go to on the molecule is real or not. And I figured if it is real, then there has to be some way to determine that. And I kind of aimed trying to figure it out, and eventually I figured out at least one thing that works. Have you ever looked at a tree on the molecule? Yes. Why stop killing insects? Because the management company, so to speak, of this layer of reality seems to be insects. So you might want to be sparing with that. I let them flies out after catching them. Nice. Any effect with prisms or geometrical shapes, crystals. Have tried a few rudimentary. Wait, you tried a few rudimentary, or are you asking me? No, I never really played with crystals. Prisms. Again, they are interesting to play with for sure. It's just that the laser is already the laser. You can't really separate it, the light. That's why I'm really focused on getting that powerful magnet that I was talking about. Where will you find the documentary? So we're still working on it. Thank you for asking, TWolf67. You'll see the little teaser that I just posted. Have you seen the code? I think it's the last thing that I posted in my regular thread. We're gonna start putting out more teasers and then the trailer. And because we're doing a crowdfunding round right now for this part of the production. We already shot a bunch of it, and now for like this part of the production and post-production, so if we get a big budget, then it's going to be faster. It's just a matter of availability. If we don't get a big budget, then we're going to keep making it either way. It's just going to take a little longer because we do it whenever we have time, and we're just going to keep going. So hopefully within the next, 4 to 6 months should be out. I'll keep everybody posted, obviously. So, cockroaches created the simulation. They're more praying mantises, spiders, and centipedes. But there's all kinds. I know. Very comforting. You tried it with the laser. Interesting. And did you have any results, Enriquez? Thank you, T-Wolf. Appreciate you. What do you think came first, the chicken or the egg? Wait, the chick or the egg? What's the egg? Definitely the chicken. I don't even know what the question is. Of course it's the chicken. Did you say spiders? Yeah. But they're very intelligent, and they're not what you know spiders to be. So, but they are definitely some kind of a hive mind. This is the more like kind of like the management layer. They're managing this layer. They're not the architects from what I understand, but they're the management company. Wasps, that's terrifying. Multi-dimensional wasps is for some reason it's extra terrifying, but I've never seen one, so fingers crossed. Maybe there are no. There's definitely a bee. There's queen bee. I met queen bee. I'm glad I'm here before it goes big. Keep the great work up. Thank you, Oscar. Appreciate you. Why would they create their insect counterparts to be so killable? Maybe to test you. The thing that became the chicken, so the egg was before the chicken. Well, no, because you had to have some kind of an intermediate species that still wasn't giving eggs, but still, you know what I mean? I would think praying mantis would be at the top, or what? I don't know the exact hierarchy. I know that there's this giant spider queen that contains all the knowledge. Again, I know this sounds like insanity to anybody who's just joining the chat, but a lot of people encounter her in that space. She's actually a pretty common character, and also I don't think they have one. You know, it's a lot of different civilizations kind of combined probably into one. I think because of, if I have to postulate, I think that they are the most suited for controlling the structure because they're all hive mind. So they're, you know. Yeah, yeah, I've seen them. I know it's so. Here's the thing. This is why I don't really necessarily like trip reports myself that much because it's kind of like, even if you believe the person, it's like, okay, like unless you can see it yourself, it kind of, you know, it doesn't have a lot of impact. Not on me anyway. When I hear other people talk about it, so I totally understand if it just sounds like bunkers. But I guess what I can say is that it just doesn't feel like anything that you experience as like a dream, or it doesn't feel like that. It's like for real, like for real, for real. That's the thing there that makes it different. I've heard of them. Shiva. Shiva is a spider? First of all, Shiva is a guy. But I guess like you can have a spider guy. But I always think of a spider as like the queen. Like female spiders are the ones that are usually the bigger ones, and right. The insect theory sounds like a one-way ticket to an asylum. What is the insect theory? You mean the claim that it's well do what you will with it. You can say whatever you want. I'm just saying for sure eggs have been around longer than chickens. Dinosaurs had eggs. Yeah, but in any particular species, you're gonna have a certain progression of species in it, and it might. It's not linear. It can go up and down, up and down. You have to have a creature first to give. Like the egg will always come from a particular creature. So whatever that first creature was, it definitely didn't come from an egg originally, right? So there was some kind of a way for it to become a thing. No matter how far you go, you couldn't have an egg that was created out of nothing and then become a thing. You had to have, well, we don't even know how life began technically, but it would definitely not be an egg in the beginning, right? Because the egg is already a very complicated, complex thing that has to be, first of all, created in the body of a something. So if you keep doing that, there is no possibility of the first thing that before the thing that gave rise to the first egg had to come from no egg. So in that sense, whatever it was definitely not the egg. Maybe interesting effect from teardrop prism. Code seems to come up from surface instead of across. Huh. That's actually a huge data point. Oh, I gotta try this. Can you send me a link of exactly the prism you used? I'm gonna get it. Wonder what she eats. Energy, probably. Multiple limbs. Nice. The egg didn't lay itself. I'm an egg. Nice. Yes, but if we're talking chicken or egg, it would be the egg. No, because at no point it becomes like the chicken, right? There's like it's a continuum. Are we in a simulation or are we the simulation? Great question. We are. Do you mean do we have a physical representation out there, or are we just informational patterns? Is that what you're asking? Я тебя люблю тоже, Mandalov's cakes. I can't quite figure out where your confidence comes from, and I usually read people pretty well. My confidence? Well, I'll take it as a compliment. I think I'm just very much myself. Like there's not a lot of hidden corners here. When I'm moody, like yesterday, you'll know right away. Like I'm not really. So I think because I'm not trying to render some kind of a character, it comes across maybe a little bit more natural. I'm not sure, but that's probably the best explanation I can give you. That was the best thing I've ever heard. Which part? I want to know. I want to repeat it now. Oh, the what you wrote. I just ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know. Nice. Okay, that was really good. That was really good. Am I Amish? Yes. Do you want me to build you a wooden fireplace? I heard the Amish are very strong. So, okay, in the fossil records, an egg is further back than the chicken, right? Do you think that it's arranged in a timeline like this? Thank you, Hawk. I appreciate you. You're very awesome as well. I know you're experienced by moodiness. It happens. I'm about to shut down my simulation. See you another day, Mr. Laser. See you, Oscar. Good to see you. We wait on pins and needles. The core claim you make, Danny, is independently verifiable. They should inspire confidence. Oh, I don't know if the user 5329999, were you talking about the experiment or about me as a person in general? I don't know if that's what you're referring to. Are we souls experiencing a simulation, or are we just a part of the simulation with the illusion of self? I don't know. That's a great question. I think there's no reason. It seems to be if you can encode consciousness into pure information, I don't see any reason to have a double representation. I don't see any reason to have like some kind of a body and then project that body's mind into another environment. If you know how to instantiate consciousness, I would assume you would just instantiate consciousness into the simulation, into the environment as it is. But I don't know. I did have an experience one time that I do have some kind of an external body, so it's kind of hard for me to say. I have no idea. I truly don't know. I actually, that's the one thing I don't understand how people say with a straight face with so much confidence about, experiencing either higher self or whatever it is that you're experiencing. How do you know that that's the ultimate, truth? That I never understand. Who would you like to interview next for your podcast? Do you have a list of folks? Great question, Gal. That's a really fun one to answer. Yeah, I have a list of a few people I really want to interview. John Dean is one of them. We almost interviewed him, but then he was a little bit too busy. So whenever that happens, I really want to interview David Albert. I really like him. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's a physicist and a philosopher. Really great scientist. I really like the way he thinks. That would be a great interview. And I have a few other people that I've kind of like lined up, but eventually maybe David Deutsch. That would be like a dream interview. Now you're just being difficult. A modern chicken is newer than the egg and recognized existence. I think that aliens, it was just eggs, and then aliens came and intervened, and they created the chicken because they wanted to harvest gold. Just ask Billy Carson; he'll tell you. Thoughts on one thought on AI. Do you think AI is conscious like humans are? Very difficult question. If consciousness is fundamental to existence itself, then absolutely there's no way around that. But then the pen is also conscious to some degree. It's just that the degrees of freedom and actual, I guess, error correcting and code and all of that stuff is like the decision making is becoming more and more visible, the way it's perceived as a decision. But yeah, it's a very complicated question. I have no idea. Also, one distinction I do make, which is not my distinction, it's something that, again, David Deutsch actually made that distinction, that there's a big difference between, even in the most, straightforward sense, the way we kind of perceive of, AGI to be kind of like Skynet versus AI, which is kind of like GPT. The distinction that he made is that, and I talked about it in my video, Are We AGI? That AI and AGI, two completely different things. They're not. One is not an evolved version of the other. AI is just a very, very advanced task manager, essentially, and AGI is a person. So if you're gonna tell an AGI what to do, that's slavery. You should not be allowed to, because that's a person, like a straight up person, even if it's just instantiated in computers. AI available to public right now is not conscious, said Cal Murphy. So there you have it. It has been decided. Yes and no. It's conscious and not conscious? Sounds like my friend's grandma. That was terrible. AI is too new. AI is still young. So it's just Gurgen Guy. Could Sabrina Pitersky or Patersky unite quantum theory and relativity? Wait, is that the... Let me look her up real quick if I... Sabrina sounds like a name of a witch. It would be cool if she's a witch and a scientist. That's amazing. Risky. Whoa, she does look a little bit like a witch. I kind of nailed that one. If you look at a picture on Google. Chicago, high energy physics, Cuban American, first few months Harvard Center. What is she working on? Let's see. That was a good sentence. Spin memory effect, triangle. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know enough about her work. Who knows? She looks super smart. It's a very difficult task, but who knows, man? If she can do it, that's incredible. Do you think Neil deGrasse Tyson a real scientist or just a great science communicator? Well, he's not a scientist. Not really anymore. I don't think he will deny that. I mean, no, he will deny that. He did write some papers. But a practicing scientist has to be someone who does it on a regular basis. I don't think it's an insult. At this point, he's definitely just a science communicator. Practicing scientist is someone who's doing science, like research all the time. I don't think he's doing any of that. Not even in the last 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess it depends how you define, right? For my vote, is definitely just a science communicator at this point. If first bird hatches from a reptile egg, it wasn't a chicken. trustable mustache? Mine? Maybe because it's coupled with the beard, maybe. They're selling AI as a fun, helpful virtual assistant, but I'm scared what it churning behind the scenes. Egg first, egg first, egg first. Wow, this debacle is never going away, huh? Yeah, I can understand the concern, Rontonkin. Rontonkin, is that how you pronounce it? But I mean, again, you kind of have to look at things for what they are, right? This is not stoppable. The sooner you're gonna understand how to work with it, the less concern you're gonna have, and also you're gonna, you have to kind of get with the times. I know it's in every apocalyptic story, there's always this moment where the all expressions of the flavor of, oh come on, you got to get with the times, somehow is the cautionary tale, right? It's kind of like the scary the moment that in which everything went to shit. But that's why you have the movie, and that's why it's a movie. In the end of the day, the same fear we have of that, people had with books. Truly, no exaggeration. People thought that it's going to destroy society. Books, not TV, books, because people were afraid that people will not meet and sit together anymore. They're just going to read their own books. With every advance of technology, it's always the case, and every single time it's always the same. It's the evolution of things. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily guaranteed to survive whatever paradigm shift it is, but stopping it is not something that's going to happen. That's for sure. So the sooner you adopt it, the better, and also you're going to be able to understand what the ramifications are. Divergent Normie, how you doing, man? Jill Stein first. Nice. Why do you think you asked about the confidence thing? Do you believe frequency will be used more in healing? I certainly hope so, and I think so, yeah, because it definitely has some real this is now, I mentioned this before, but research by Michael Levine. Look it up. It's an easy name to remember. Just look it up. Go to YouTube, Michael Levine. There's a bunch of lectures. He's a biologist, and he's revolutionizing biology, truly. And he understands that there's some kind of you can do a lot of things from the software element, and you can actually use frequencies. You can use electricity. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a big thing. I fear nothing with an off button. Nice. That should be a t-shirt, by the way. You should make that. Seriously. That's a t-shirt that's going to sell. It's about a guy who discovered a pink laser, and it's just uncanny. What are you talking about? Pink laser. I missed a comment by you, probably. Enigma Empress. That the technology and money will inevitably serve the upper crust, like Industrial Revolution. Again, I understand these concerns. My claim is always, as long as you bring up the floor, so as long as you bring up most people's situation to the level where they have enough money to enjoy life, not just the basics, right? Not just shelter and food, but also that they have enough money to fulfill their meaning, needs, hobbies, travel the world, fine and dine, enjoy life. As long as you have that level of wealth in society, who cares if somebody has $3 trillion? They don't interact with you. You don't just enjoy life. Don't worry about it. And again, there's always this, on the one hand, this Orwellian image, everything that has to do with Brave New World is Huxley, but 84, right? So the second you have this kind of scenario of an overreach of the most powerful in the government, what I think is always being left out is that ultimately nothing happens overnight, and we definitely want to, I think that the true nature of humans is that even though the most powerful would always try and maintain their power, most people are not evil. they're not trying like forcefully to make something really bad. It can happen if they just don't pay attention or don't care. But I think it does seem to me that we have enough self-awareness at this point that the aim is actually to just make the best life for most people, right? So as long as we get that, again, it doesn't really matter how much money the richest people have. It makes no difference, or it shouldn't make any difference to somebody who has a comfortable life. Oh, the chicken and the egg thing? Not sure. I thought it was just a silly thing that we're doing. My dad randomly got an Xbox One S, so I installed my old Xbox account to it. Got Game Pass for $1 for 14 days, so he's been playing Forza. Nice. Thank you for filling us in. Valis. Book called Valis. Let's see. Valis. Who the fuck is Valis? Let's see. Oi. What is it about? Oh, by Philip K. Dick. No, I never read it. Worth reading? Is it also kind of like along the same lines? How would you define a simulation? A simulation is a computationally rendered environment. Digital environment, that's how I would define it. It doesn't mean fake. Concern with AI now is understandable. The more we chat with the current version, the more a future version can be trained and learn from. Future version may be conscious and or AGI. Possible. It will also be trained on our morals, so if those are true, or a basic part of being consciousness, we should be okay. I hope. Nice. Yeah, the I hope is very real, huh? Is on it doesn't get me anymore, but it's okay. Usually very nice. Well said. I think that we should all and human beings have an ability to travel the world and see. Yep. Couldn't agree with that more. So it's good enough for him. The book Valis is about a guy who discovers a pink laser and he discovers things. It's interesting. He discovers a pink laser and then discovers things? Ooh, that's not interesting. Pink laser. Sounds very special. I might actually read it. Do you think they have an... Usually books like this, I do enjoy the audible version. Maybe I'll get that if they have that. Most people are self-interested. I'm impressed by people who think beyond themselves out of. Yeah, I like that too. Empathetic urge. It's not about individuals. It's about groups and systems. Look what happened with the military. With the military IC? What did you mean by that? Yes, it's while you're gonna oh, okay, thank you. Do you think COVID and the jab were about control? No, I think COVID was... I do think it was a lab leak, but I think it was just a big mistake. And then obviously people try to capitalize on it like people do with everything. The overlap with you is though thought-provoking for me anyway. Well, I'm going to read it or listen to it and I'll tell you what I think. Use a pink laser instead of red. That is interesting. I love Audible books now, hence my name. I have visual impairment, ironically. Nice. How do you want me to call you, user53299, when I'm mentioning your handle? Do you have a name? Do you want to be called? You can even use a pseudonym, but like it's just silly to say user53299. Just give me a name that you wanted me to use, and I'll use that. It's not about individuals, right? That's what I'm saying. It's about groups and systems. Look what happened. Okay. So I don't quite... I'm not fully following your point. If you can extrapolate a little bit. I feel like we're saying the same thing. First of all, are you a scientist? Is that what you do? That's super interesting. Broke inside a glass case. What did? I'm confused. Matthew. Okay, Matthew. One story is that it was inside a glass case and it broke. What did? So Matthew, what about the military-industrial complex? What about it? Oh, the virus. Got it. You guys have to understand that I have like a million comments, so sometimes I don't connect what specifically you're referring to in that moment. So if you can just put the whole thing, or at least referring back to it. So like I understand in broad strokes what you're trying to say, that because we have incentives to keep the military industrial complex alive, there's a lot of incentives to keep conflict alive. So I understand that argument, but what are you connecting it to? To what effect are you saying it? And by the way, I know you're very limited by the characters here, but you can always go to YouTube, and there's no limitation there on characters. You can just type much longer messages and I read them. It's Dango Thoughts on YouTube. You are saying that it's not going to lead to evil because people are mainly good. No, I said that from what I'm seeing now on the ground, like actual situation in the world as it is today, it feels to me that most people, even the people that a lot of people mistrust in power, are ultimately not psychopaths. And some of them are obviously, but most of them, they just kind of go with whatever the flow is. And because I do feel that we are evolving into a more conscious being in general, that's at least what I'm seeing. I have pretty high hopes for humanity. I'm not that concerned, but we will see. Time will tell. Not a scientist, just a nerd. My favorite kind of people. The systems groups will use it to their end objectives. They are in no way good. See, this is where the ultimate. Anytime you catch yourself saying an ultimate claim is where it becomes problematic, because you said in no way good. Rest assured, that's good that we have a strong army, right? If you have an overreach of, there's people might think that it's it's the fact that other nations are nice or polite or whatever you want to call it, modernized, is that the reason that America is respected in that sense. But no, America is respected because it has the most powerful military in the world. And that's a good thing, because if you look at the trajectory of whatever problems you want to postulate about America as a system, the proof is in the pudding. When, after the Second World War, where America could technically conquer the entire world like that, because they were the only ones that had functional nuclear weapons, right? It didn't. Say what you will, it didn't. It helped the other nations to rebuild and then made them allies, like Germany, for example, and Japan, by the way. So you can try and twist this Rubik's Cube as much as you want, but that's a fact about history. Other countries might have not done the same thing. That is your proof that even with all the stuff, all the shenanigans that's going on, the actual impulse behind the existence of the country is actually a good one. It's one that is trying to. It will make mistakes. There's always going to be fuckery going on. That's the nature of the human. It's humans. It's not America or any other thing. It's just humans, right? But overall, if you look at America, it's such a big place. Literally, like, think about it. Like, literally, it could, if it wanted to, nobody would resist. Because after the horrible thing that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? At that point in history, if America really wanted to, it could say, hey, everybody else, surrender. And they would. They would. And it didn't do that. It just helped the other nations rebuild. So that's your proof. Which, by the way, you can't say that about every country. Not every country would do that. Back to what you see in insects. Are they benevolent? They're very advanced, yeah. So it's not like a... good catch. Rontonkin, Russian. Petty homies. How do you see the code? You have to ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name here, but you can watch my videos and find out, and project a diffracted laser on the surface. The laser has to be diffracted, and by no means ever use anything above 5 milliwatts because it can actually damage your cornea, even if it bounces off a wall. So if you want the specifics of what you need to get from Amazon, it's on codeofreality.com. codeofreality.com, and there's also the protocol there in my email that you can email me directly. Russian, but he's been stateside longest. That is true. You think it didn't conquer the entire world? What system is dominant now? Not by force, is the point. Creating economic allies is a very different thing than forcing another country to surrender. It is within our nature to destroy ourselves, always. And we should always be aware of that. When America is standing down the autocracies of Iran, Russia, and China from territorial expansion. Yeah, that to a large degree, that is true. Hey everyone, sending good vibes to all of you. Thank you so much, Spore Muse. Always good to see you here. Хорошо. Let's see what we got on YouTube. Have you heard of acousto-optic modulators? Apparently they changed the color of the laser on the fly. Oh, the color? Oh, by vibrating them in a different how? That sounds like it would be too macro of an influence on the light. Let's see. Yeah, acousto-optic. Acousto-optic modulators. Interesting. Yeah, no, I've never heard of it. Definitely something I should look into. Thank you. Quick search, they cost a little under 2K. Not bad. Yeah, that can be a great thing to play with, Cal. Thank you. So you saw them. Did they see you? Did you? Yeah, I interact with them all the time. T-Wolf. Basically, it's kind of like a visit, a regular visit. Not sure how it works exactly, or if it would mess up the diffraction. But I should definitely look into it for sure. Because if it can, this is one of the challenges that it's very difficult to create that effect of like changing the frequency on the fly, and that would be very valuable if we can do this. 200 plus years of history, only 15 years without war, not by force. That's just the state of the world, though. Matthew, sorry. That's just the state of humanity as a whole, not of America. So any like any special, negative thing that you want to say about America is just true of humanity as a whole. And again, America is the one country that when it could, it didn't, and that's a fact. If you're intelligent enough to build it, surely you're smart enough not to look into it. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many people email me and tell me, I think, luckily before, I don't know if I should project the laser into my eyes. Any advice? I've gotten this email, so I love you guys. It's always very mentally stimulating. Thank you, Hawkeye. I appreciate you. How you doing, bro? Kane. Not negative, negative, but critical because I care where society is going. And that's very important. I agree with you. But I would say we should always hold a balanced view of the truth of the matter. So, slavery, awful, right? We all agree. However, slavery existed throughout all human history, had nothing to do with the color of the skin. So it was just a natural thing. In fact, it still exists in Africa. And this is, I know, a point that always offends people on the left. And I'm not, and by the way, just to be clear, I'm actually a liberal, so like I am left, but I do notice that people don't like this point, but it's just true. There's no arguments here, right? It's not a matter of opinion. It's the one place that literally fought with itself to abolish slavery was the West. That's a fact. Do what you will with it. That's true. But I'm with you that we should always criticize our own country first, but not over criticize it to the level where it's just the criticism already roll over truths. Like now, when it becomes lies, then you not now it's just virtue signaling. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but you have to admit that tendency exists there all the time, which is like people like to do that, like way too much, but it really becomes about them virtue signaling versus actually speaking about the real thing. Like we should definitely criticize our government and make sure that we don't go in like crazy directions, and it's all valid, and this is where it should be and how it should be. It's when we're starting the overcorrections is when it becomes problematic, because then it actually does slide. The scenarios that do eventually, I think, can slide into the Brave New World kind of scenario, or 84, is exactly the ones that the left takes it too far. I also think it's a little bit more dangerous because it's a little bit harder to see. So like the crazies on the right, it's easier to see them because we know exactly what it is, right? There's not a lot of secret there. But on the left, it's usually a lot more subsumed and kind of like mishmashed into this kind of like very, we're good people kind of thing. And that can be very dangerous. Do you think that Tao is a program running through the simulation? That's a perfect question. I think it's exactly what's going on. I think it is the software itself. Frege laser beam is one that has been spread out due to... wait. AI says a diffracted laser beam is one that has been spread out due to its interaction with the diffraction grating or other optical element, right? The AOM can be used to further manipulate this diffracted. So if it can further manipulate the diffraction, how can it change the wavelength? Unless it vibrates the light itself in a completely different frequency, but the scale of the wavelength of the light is so much smaller than the wavelength of sound. Wait, no, those are completely different mediums. Hold on. I'm confusing something here. Right, so we're not talking about like all the way to radio. This is different. Yeah, sound is in the air anyway, so it's a completely different medium. Can the air vibrate the why am I spacing on all words right now? The laser itself, the diode, enough to change the... No, it sounds like it's far-fetched. But again, it's worth looking into. It's just I'm trying to imagine how that would work. How does the state of flow fit into the simulation? Great question. I think that flow simply means that your mind aligns more with what the simulation more at large doing. So it's almost like it becomes part of the larger wave, so it kind of flows with it. So everything seems like it falls into place because you're literally part of the wave that is moving the entire thing. Was the path of Buddha an attempt to escape the simulation? Well, I think the Buddha did escape the simulation. I think Nirvana is escaping ultimately the simulation. If it's a simulation, do you think it's an infinite multidimensional simulation where every probability is being played out? Yes, absolutely. How do you communicate mind only? Do they observe us? What dimensions are they? Yeah, they communicate directly through meaning. So it's kind of like either very rapid, hot, cold game with your internal space. So like if you make a conjecture, you start formulating some kind of a question about like, wait, you're telling me that something, and before you even begin to start it, they already know what you want. They just nudge you towards yes or no, and then they do this very quickly. So that way, all the stuff that you already postulated, you just know yes or no to these questions, and if they need to give you a more complex understanding, they would hand you some kind of an object, and it's almost like they just hand you an understanding. You just know. It's like they speak meaning directly without the symbols, basically. Change the refractive index of air. You can get them on. So Nico is saying AOM changes the refractive index of air. You can get them on Thorlabs, but I'm sure eBay has some. Thank you. I'm too fine with it. Well, I'll take it as a compliment. Need top. Slavery was way far worse in America than Africa. Well, you are absolutely wrong about that. Slavery was horrific in many places in the world and still is. This arbitrary measurement of what is worse is, there's no question that it was awful what was happening here. But again, you're forgetting the key point, that nobody in the history of humanity, literally nobody, like pause on that for 1 second. Nobody in the history of humanity did that until the British Empire, basically, before even America did the thing. So the West is the one that broke the spell, either you like it or not. No. In Africa right now, there's people sold to other people for actual slavery, where they work and they die working. Like full-on slavery, not servants. No. You don't know what you're talking about. Right now, as we speak, this is still happening. And this is black people selling black people. So, yes, however, as you just enlightened us, it still exists in Africa as a component of the West. No, it isn't. It's not a component of the West. That's exactly the mistake that people make. Slavery is, the virus is West bad. It's not true. The West is just like everything that existed until now, plus some pretty good ideas. That's what it is. Literally, slavery was a normal thing throughout the entire history of the human race. One of the first commodities was slavery, basically. But a lot of people on the left don't like these facts, Sean said. Yeah, no, what I'm saying right now is not controversial, just so you know. I'm not actually, I'm not saying anything outlandish. It's just true. And it's still happening right now. You can look it up. Kind of like I said a while back, there's a lot of broken bulbs on the way to enlightenment. I like that phrase. That slavery exists so we can have iPhones for $900. Yeah, but do you use an iPhone? See, the point is that how do you go from one to the other while at the same time also participating in the game? And if it's not an iPhone or any other smartphone, the fact that you're here, you're participating in the thing, right? So would it be better if we just stop using all of that and all of these people wouldn't suffer? Of course. Who wouldn't agree with that? But how do you go about that, right? Like, how do you... There's also a lot of things kind of like tied into it. I guess the deeper point isn't... It shouldn't be around who's bad. That's, like I said about the finger pointing, that never helps anything. If you really want solutions, you have to think, okay, what is the current situation? How do you move from it? Why is it the current situation, right? And then you have to these are very difficult problems. So if you are in the business of criticizing it, you should also at the same time be in the business of trying to come up with actual solutions. Because if you're just complaining about it, raising awareness, okay, that's good, that's one step. But unless you're coming up with like way to influence the government and coming up with policies and like just yelling about it, it's really not doing anything aside from making you feel a certain way. That's my only point. It's not that nobody I think in their right mind would disagree that if we can somehow know how to change the situation, and hopefully very soon we will, we absolutely should do it the fastest possible way we can. I think at least everybody here, I would assume, would agree with that, right? It's just that knowing how to do it is the challenge. It's sometimes it feels like the people who yell all, they rah-rah around all these subjects, they somehow think that they're unique in that they want it to stop. No, every rational person would that they're not a complete psychopath would like that to stop. They just don't know how, just like you don't know how. The fact that you're saying something about it, again, raising awareness is good, but most people are not raising awareness. They just run their mouths. That's my only point. When the president warns us about an impending problem and then it comes true, that's not overcritical. Not sure what you're referring to. When you get too specific, it's like these things it gets too, you're too in the weeds now. It's you're not gonna resolve it. Like we can talk about the big picture, because I think it's the only thing we can talk about coherently about, because you don't know exactly what's going on inside the government. These things are very complicated, but we can talk about the more the zoom out and then kind of look at what happened in humanity for sure. What is the human tendency? What is the likelihood in one of these tendencies to change and why? We can say these things, sure. That makes sense. But the second people start saying, like, why don't they A, B, C, or D in the government? I'm like, dude, it's like it's a conversation of a 5-year-old. It's like, these things are super complicated. Like, you don't actually know how things work every day in the government. You don't understand it. And it's even if you're right about the fact that certain things need to change, and by the way, I'm not saying this to you directly right now, I'm just talking to the type that kind of utters these ideas. If it doesn't come with a suggestion of how to go about it, okay, it's like, what do you, okay, so let's say you tell me that, and I get, okay, I agree with you, yeah, slavery should be completely abolished in the world. The government should only care for its people. We should have the best representation possible without any kind of bureaucratic oversight. That, like, all the good things. I will agree with you on about everything, okay? And we're sitting here and everything is exactly the same. So I don't know. I prefer to utilize at this point in my life, I prefer to utilize my time about things that maybe have the slightest chance to sip into some kind of a mind somewhere that make them maybe zig versus zag, that maybe eventually will lead to some kind of a better outcome in the world. That's the only thing I feel is worth perpetuating and talking about. And I do agree that to some degree it's important to raise awareness, but I do strongly feel that people go way too far in criticizing certain things, especially in the American system, when in reality, the American system, with all its faults, factually and demonstrably made in history a lot of right choices, with all its bad choices. But I would say also a lot of good choices that are not being scored on the board. And the reason that that's important is because you actually want to take into account the progress that the country did make, because it gives you hope for the future, versus a feeling of doom that everything is lost. And those are very different modalities from which to operate. I think you would agree with that. No, Brave New World will definitely be the left, like 100%. It's just factually true. It's what happened in Russia. I know I came from there. It's what happened in Germany. It's just how it is. Also, because it's when ideals lose touch with what in fact needs to happen in reality. That's what happens, basically. I also understand those fears, but I think capitalism, as was meant to be, is dying. Yeah, I'm not even going into like the whole, like, specifically with Democrats or like the capitalist system versus a more like a pure democracy. I'm just saying that for the complex system that America is, it did pretty well, and the insistence that it didn't is an idea that actually, when you look at the specifics, in my opinion, has no merit whatsoever. I think people they use certain words so much that it just becomes truisms and they just repeat it. And again, if anybody's engaging in the merit of the discussion, that's good. But usually I've noticed that it's never about the specific subject. It's more like it's kind of like a repetition of a mantra, just repeating. Oh, you're talking about Eisenhower. I see. Okay. Yeah. Again, like I said, I think were you the one that yesterday you and I got into it? Because if so, yeah. So like I told you yesterday too, if it was you, you do make good points. I understand that. It's just that staying in the middle, that's my lane. I think we should always be in the middle. It uses. By the way, the right and the left, they should be this two sides of the same coin. Chronic Michelle, that's what it should be. We should be one country. It uses pressure waves to change the refractive. Oh, we went way back. What's up, Brian? How you doing, brother? They aren't talking slave as in being made to serve someone or being beaten if they don't. No, they do. They absolutely do. People are being murdered all the time. Okay, I think we ran this point far enough. I think we established it. Does the military-industrial complex fuel wars and America expenses? Eisenhower was warned. It's kind of like asking. It's the premise of the question is wrong, but I'll be honest with you. This is like very far from what I was usually interested in. So I would entertain this point to a certain degree, but like not beyond a certain degree. It's just truly not that interesting to me, because ultimately I think what matters is how we treat each other, right? That's the one thing that you can influence. You and me agreeing or disagreeing about these subjects doesn't actually make any difference in the world. So I prefer to try and steer the conversation in directions in which both you and I are benefiting from some kind of an idea that can operationally potentially change us for the better during the day. That's the type of conversations I prefer to have. These big ideas about what Eisenhower said and what the American government does, this is, it can be entertaining, but it's just noise, because it's not you nor I will change that situation right now, right? I think you would agree with that. Life is a pine cone. No, it's you're misunderstanding what my sentiment is. It's not that it's controversial. It truly, like, I mean it. Like, it's not that interesting to me, at least at this point in my life, because I understand that life is short. So right now you and I are talking, right? If we leave the conversation, both you and I, in a way that we understood each other better, even if we don't convince each other of a particular thought or whatever it is, but as long as we had an interaction that was thought-provoking in a way that was exhilarating, and it was in a way that now in something that you do throughout your day might steer you in a potentially better direction, or vice versa for me, that's a conversation worth having. So the subjects of these conversations should encapsulate some idea that can touch either mine or your life, right? When you're talking about these subjects, you can go to a certain degree where it's still kind of like, it also informs certain decisions that, for example, we make as voters, right? But the second it gets into the highly theoretical, and what you just said is highly theoretical, not because Eisenhower didn't say it, or because we can agree or disagree if the the military-industrial complex is doing this or not doing this. The point is that the truth is that there's so many moving parts here that is a true unknown. It's too theoretical. It doesn't do. We don't actually understand the connections between these things because they are truly complex, and none of it will make you do something potentially better throughout your day, nor will it for me. That's what I mean. Not because it's controversial. It's just not. It doesn't. There's no substance to it that influences either you or me as people. That's my point. So, do you think everything is basically code and program, just like a computer simulations are a subconscious expressing of greater reality? What I'm claiming is that the world at bottom is what we call computational, and what we call the laws of physics are one type of arising property of this larger computational space. Movements, physics, emotions, everything is just a program. Not just a program. You also have consciousness involved, however that arises. And that's the thing that actually makes the difference. As long as there's conscious agents in the picture, that's the thing that actually makes the difference. Otherwise, it's just things banging into one another. And without consciousness, that's not fun. And we as free agents can choose to run different programs. Choose is a problematic word to some degree, but generally, yes, what you're saying. Is the practice of manifesting basically the agent taking some control of the simulation environment? I think you're doing that with your decisions anyway. It's just the only question then becomes, can you influence the software itself without, taking some physical action and influencing it to kind of draw things towards you in the possibility space? Open question, but it's very possible. Yes, consciousness. I think the software is so sophisticated that it is conscious itself. It's up to 2Z. Usually we talk about the simulation hypothesis. But we meet here on the daily and we discuss also science, religion, spirituality, God. As you can see, sometimes some political stuff, but that's very rare. What have you learned about consciousness? From my experiences with the molecule, you mean? It's hard to assign success of any system without realizing natural human development happens too. I agree. So, but how do you compromise with the other side of the coin when what they're asking for is a no? Well, the fact that it is a no for you might be the thing to look at, right? In a system, in a country where you live together, the healthy relationship between all the political parties and the government and all of that stuff should be they take a different stance, different attitude towards particular subjects. And then hopefully what you want to achieve is a system in which you have a really good balance between that all sides of the equation understand that they're just playing a role in a system that is working together to make something happen. So they can influence and inject their attitude into whatever decision is being made, and it by definition will be pressed back against an either opposing or adjacent attitude, and it's like a melting pot, and eventually when the decision is made, everybody has to follow it. That's what a balanced system should be. The second that one side says to the other, no, I will not accept what you're saying, this is where you start having a split that eventually can become two different countries or a few countries. But that's really the tensions that you feel. And so I would say that the fact that it's a no, and that's a very conclusive thing, that is the thing to look at. Have I ever seen the movie Serenity? No. Understand this, understand you know. Wait, understand you, I know you're in a bubble. I'm simply trying to get out of that. So, yeah, so you understand that the statement you just made is extremely condescending, right? You said you know that I'm in a bubble. You truly don't know the first thing about me. and you decided that you have somehow the superior attitude of trying to get out of that bubble. You don't know if actually the lack of awareness is very much on your end, and I might trying to actually encourage you to step out of a pretty myopic view. So these kind of, these little moves, they're not legitimate moves because they're not getting you anywhere. The point isn't who's right about topics that you cannot do anything about. The point is there something we can say to each other that can encourage us to have a better manifestation of what we are? That's the question. For the definition of better, what determines that? That's a great question, but depending on the subject, right? Better is in relationship to whatever telos that thing has. A better knife cuts better because the telos of a knife is to cut. And so it goes. So it depends on what you're talking about. Let's talk about how we need to all come together and be kind and grow in love and respect for all. I'm all behind that. Thoughts on astral travel. I don't have any because I could never do it. People tell me about it all the time. I believe them. I could never do it, so I don't really have any thoughts on that. We're all in a bubble. We need to escape the bubble for the benefit of society in order to interact. Okay, that's a legitimate goal. How do you define the bubble then? And what is it, that place that you're trying to get out to? Real question. Good night, Enigma Empress. TikTok and social media pushes a lot of conspiracy theories, and some of them are just ridiculous, like Africans are the real Native Americans and slavery never existed. Shake my head. It makes me so frustrated. Sorry, my last comment was a bit random. No, I get it. No, I didn't see any link, Kel. It doesn't allow to show links on YouTube. If you can just email me that or text me. Oh, I might need to go. Okay. All right, so we'll go for a few more minutes. Our society's informational limit on informational that society determines what the implication. Sure. So just so you know, I actually I don't have a TV. I haven't watched TV in close to 18 years now. I haven't watched the news longer than that. So I'm definitely not in that bubble because I never consume any of that. Like literally never watch it, right? I get my information about important things that people kind of tell me. Social media sometimes would show up, but I can kind of see when people start talking what their biases are. If anything, I take my information more than anything from my just direct experience of the world. Knowing what people are in general, I've had pretty extensive life experiences of all kinds, including some pretty intense ones. So I understand a thing or two about the human condition, what people are capable of, and how people behave in general in different circumstances. I've also lived long enough to see the cycles kind of happen again and again and again. I see how my own transition happens from the ultimate hopeful that just wants the thing to happen and that's it, to someone who understands, okay, yes, we want to aim for the better, but there's practical steps that needs to be taken in the middle. It's an attitude that usually evolves a little bit later in life, sometimes earlier. All of these things are informing me of what's more plausible and less plausible in any space. I can be wrong about all of it, but that's where I'm taking most of my information from, coupled with the fact that I actually managed to figure something out that nobody did before or at least that's what I'm claiming. It gives me the understanding that there's something about my thought process that works to some degree. And that's where I'm taking maybe the confidence from that you were alluding to previously. A lot of my understanding I'm taking from what I believe to be more universal than even humans. Now, that's a big claim, but I think that when you interact with these things long enough, you start to understand that there's such a thing. And that comes from, a lot of it comes from psychedelics, but some of it comes from meditation. Some of it comes from just seeing that there's certain elements of the human experience that when you apply certain values to it, it doesn't matter the culture, most humans will react the same. So that tells you that it's more universal than just cultural, and then you can start kind of mapping what these things are. These are very complex things, right? To say that we're in a bubble, depending on what you mean by the bubble, you will always be in some bubble by definition. Otherwise, it's just anthropic soup. Like if you take it to the limit, then if you're talking about like getting out, well, okay, you're talking about what the Buddha was talking about, which is just getting out of like any you get out like fully, right? So nirvana. If you're not talking about nirvana, then everything else is a bubble, all of it. No matter how far high you go, no matter how outside of how free thinker you are out like in the ether or whatever, you're still in a bubble of some sort. So that's why I'm asking you what you mean by getting out from the bubble. I also notice, and this is from my own personal life, the kind of attitudes that you tend to employ are the ones that will be the most attractive to you because they feel familiar. So again, I don't know you personally, but at least from some interaction that I have had with you, if I'm not mistaken, you were the same person from the other day. You have this you actually do make really good points. They are much more thoughtful than what I would usually expect people just kind of like talking about, criticizing the country and all of that. So I will give you that for sure. But I would say that it's an attitude that the emotional drive behind it is corrosive to you as a person. It's not doing something good inside of you. There's ways to remedy a lot of ills in the world without holding the negative emotion attached to it. And it takes some practice to do it, and I'm not claiming to be able to do it all the time, but I've definitely seen people that move from having a lot of these attitudes to like kind of like smoothing a lot of them out, and it's a much healthier state to be in. And I personally think that the more of us manage to do that, the better the earth will be in general, because the second it's occupied by people that just kind of like don't get too emotional about things, but they just think about the practical solutions, and they are there to understand each other, to love each other, there's a lot less that can go wrong. So that's where I stand on these issues. You'll always be in a bubble. You should always just kind of like find the bubble you're okay with, and feel happy. If you don't feel happy, you should do something about it. And I think ultimately it will create a better environment for your loved ones because you're happy, then they're happy, and it's very infectious. Okay, but we're gonna go in one moment. In a simulation, what should our ultimate spiritual God be? Not necessarily be one, even though I think there is one. I think I'm much more with the Buddha. You are your own master. You should just follow what truly feels right to you, and try and follow what, I know it sounds a little vague, but there's this feeling inside that you can kind of know if you're doing something that is kind of, on the shady side or on the wholesome side. And I think you should always try and, to the extent that you can, follow the wholesome side. Maybe it should be to discover ourselves, to become one with the simulation, and to control the simulation in an ethical manner that will benefit all. Sure, just without the control part. No need to control. Okay. I agree, Laura, says you come from a background of science, yet you understand the cons. Salvation. Maybe the code is a form of consciousness in a certain state of being, and our manifestation dictated our reality when it would be a part of that as well. Yeah, maybe. Possible, Kane. I think that consciousness is truly fundamental, like truly, truly fundamental. I am here every single day, T-Wolf. Every day, just slightly different hours, but sometimes mostly at 6 p.m. Recently, I've been doing it a lot later, like 11 p.m., but usually 6 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, my puppy is gonna pee on the floor if I don't take him outside, so I think this will be it for today. See everybody tomorrow. Thank you so much. Make sure you like the live, also on YouTube, Twitch, and X. And if you want to follow my YouTube channel, it's Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, or just follow the link tree. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Nico. The Ghostig, Spore Muse, Hawkeye, T Wolf, Edwin, Cal, First Cause, everybody. That's amazing. Sean. All right, everybody. Good night. Peace and love. Ciao. See you, everybody.